morning everybody, Steve Brown from Swansea Creatives. I'm here this morning with Ben Riddle from Home Instead.
Steve.
We've been doing a series of videos on all the different things that Home Instead do, out there in the community, working in people's homes, etc. And the one that particularly interested me was Alzheimer's, because obviously my father unfortunately suffered and died of Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's, to me, I have a very I understand what it does to a family, having seen what it did, with my mother and what we had to go through, etc. So I would imagine with Alzheimer's, you've got to be very careful when you go in there and put the right, for want of a better word, package in there. So how do you go about assessing somebody when you go in to look at an Alzheimer's situation?
We go in and we do a 2.5 hour what we call care consultation,
okay.
And in that, and
who's that with, the family or the?
It's predominantly with the person that we're going to be supporting.
Right.
Again,
so in that case, would it be my dad? Yeah.
It would have been your dad in your situation, but it would have been with your dad, depending on his condition and how much he can remember.
Yeah.
What we really do dislike is the client who we're providing the care for, and you should never not speak to them and just speak to the family to get your answers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about the client. That's the important thing. Anyway, so we'll get as much as we possibly can out of the client.
Yeah.
We'll fill in the gaps with the family members about the care consultation. So when we've got that information, it then really sort of promotes how you're going to provide support, what is needed, and how, more importantly, how we can improve the life of that person that we're going to provide support for.
During that process, I remember my mother, we had, I can't remember what they called, community nurses or whatever, they were CBNs or something like that, but somebody that they were talking to down in Gosain and they were giving support, etc. Do you talk with other professions within the industry and get guidance of them as well? Again,
it all depends on what stage they are. As they progress through the stages of dementia, they usually have more professional advice and more professional input. And with consent from the families, we will speak to them to gain more information to sort of make this picture up, if you like. One of the important things is, though, that the only people that go out and do the care consultations are qualified professionals that we have here.
Right.
I mean, for example, Claire Scanlon, who is the lady that does most of our care consultations, and certainly for the more acute situations. I mean, she's been in health and social care for 24 years, I think it is. So
we're talking professional people going out, talking to mum and dad, and assessing the situation to make sure that they actually provide the right service to that person, what they actually want and what they actually, but also what they need.
Yeah. And most importantly, in this day and age, in a safe environment and a safe situation. So, all the health and safety risk assessments that we will do for the home and for any trips out that we have to do, it all has to be covered. The regulations are huge to prevent any negative thing happening to the person you're looking at.
Alright, so you've come out, you've assessed my mum and dad's situation. So my dad's, suffering, my mother's suffering at the same time because she's got to live with him every day, and I'm sorry, but that's the reality of life. So you assess that situation, what then happens?
Well, if you've decided, say for example you mentioned your mum and dad, so there's a respite scenario there. As much as the care for your dad is so important, to give him a different perspective, a different relationship, someone else to talk to, someone who's going to professionally engage him and try and move him on, that he may well respond better to those requests than he would have done from your mum asking him to do things. So there's that benefit. But also for mum, it's about the respite side of things, making sure that she can go off and have a bit of break really from that whole situation. So if that was what was required by the family, that is what we would do. I mean, we've got people with dementia that we just go in and we'll provide food to them. So that doesn't mean to say that we will just go beep, 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 bing, out the microwave and there's your food. The whole point is, if they are capable, that our trained caregivers will actually get them to come and help. We'll peel potatoes, we'll do the chopping the carrots if that's safe and they can do it, and really get them engaged. Because it's all about not doing for them, it's doing with them. Why? Because they get a social interaction with it, they get purpose, and more importantly, they get mobility as well, and their movement and their mind is having to think about doing things. I mean, and so as simple as making food can actually be quite a challenging scenario for someone with dementia, and you need somebody there with professional skills to be able to get the best out of that situation.
Okay. Well, so how would this work then? So, right, so I understand that, but how would it work with? My father was from an industry, from an industry background, used to managing men. Okay, so you send, in previous videos we mentioned 18-year-olds up to 65-year-olds being part of your team. You send an 18-year-old boy in to look after my dad. He's not going to take any notice of him. He's talking to his grandson. So how do you make those? How do you get those two people together?
Okay. Well, first of all, we wouldn't have sent in an 18-year-old boy to your dad if he's a hard-working sort of man's man. Yeah. We would have put him with someone that was older, a bit more mature, more life skills, has probably done similar work historically. If we've got somebody like that, and most importantly, though, take your extreme example. If I sent an 18-year-old boy in there, having gone through this huge selection process and only picking 8%, and then they've still got to prove themselves after that. By the time I sent out this 18-year-old boy to your dad, I can assure you that he knows what he's doing, and he is confident, and he'll walk in there and he will be able to engage with dad and help.
I did take an extreme case here, but these are the things that we as the user, the people who want to employ you and your team, these are the questions that we have, because at the end of the day, you come into my mother's home, and I've got to trust the fact that the person you're putting in there, I can trust them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, I think, and I'll draw an analogy between that and traditional domiciliary care. We've mentioned all along in our videos about relationship, about continuity, and once I've chosen this special person, is keeping them involved all the time.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about the reasons for that, and about routine and knowing their things, all of which builds trust, gets them to do more than they ever have done before. By contrast, though, if you've got a traditional service which is putting different people in there all the time, then that is actually very disconcerting for the person with dementia, and very, very, very unpleasant, and it can be very disconcerting, it can be very irritating, it can be, then aggression can come out of that situation. We've seen that in the past with other clients before we get them. It's a recipe for disaster. So making sure that the right people are with the right clients, form that relationship, that is something that you don't get generally out there.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. So guys, we've been talking about Alzheimer's and getting home care and the respite support and all the things that we need, you need when you have a situation with Alzheimer's. So this has been Steve Brown from Swansea Creatives. If you want to know more about what we've been discussing this morning, have a look at the website, which is listed below. Speak to Ben or a member of the team. Again, the number's below. They're happy to speak to anybody free of charge, give you some free advice, and start giving you the right advice. So we'll see you all in the next video.
Bye.